Richard Jefferson joins us now. He's a 17-year NBA vet. He's an NBA champion and a current analyst for ESPN, Yes Network, and Pac-12 Network. You've also seen him on YouTube and in the podcast space. Man, what a busy guy. Thanks for making time for us, Richard.
Honestly, thank you guys for having me. Man, I'm so excited to chop it up and, talk a little hoop, talk a little life.
Happy to have you, dog.
Yeah, this is great. Let's get into it. I had to refresh myself on your transition from Arizona to the league, and I didn't realize that it was back to back to back. You play in a national championship, 2001, and then go to back-to-back finals.
Yes.
That doesn't happen to anyone. Can you describe what that 3-year trajectory was like?
Well, let me say it might have happened to people, but at least most of the people win one of them. I went a nice little 0 for 3 out the
clean
gates.
0 for.
Yeah, clean. You know what it was? And it's like, we're still in a very pivotal time in your life when you're 19, 20, 21, 22. You're still kind of learning things. And I think that really kind of set me up from a person that like the only thing I cared about was winning. It wasn't like money and accolades, and all those things are like exciting and like those are a part of the journey. But at the forefront, like I go from Arizona, go back half a step. Arizona wins the national championship in 97. I'm a recruit in 98. So like part of the reason why I go to Arizona is like, I just want to win a national championship. Yeah. If this is what it's about and I can do it here, this is my goal. Fast forward, we lose in the national championship game, but ultimately like you came very, very close to accomplishing a once in a lifetime goal. And then I fast forward, I go to a couple NBA finals, and now it's like my brain, it's at that point is triggered. Only thing that matters is winning. Like, I don't care about anything else winning. So, no, it was great. And I got to later on in my career kind of use those experiences. And that definitely helped me later in my career.
Let me ask you this. Do Duke fans still heckle you? Like if you're in the airport or something?
I wouldn't say heckle me because I'm at an age now where like only like an older generation understands that and remembers that. And like grown older men aren't coming up to me and like heckling me. But I will say this. I don't take pictures with anybody wearing Duke paraphernalia. Oh. So like a guy can be wearing a Duke hat. I'm like, yo, Jefferson, I'm a big fan. Love the Nets. It's like, oh, that's cool. We can have a picture, but like not with a Duke hat. I make kids take off sweatshirts or jerseys, anything. I will not take a picture with anybody. And they don't even know. A 22-year-old kid can walk up to me and be like, no way. I'm a huge fan. He's wearing a Duke jersey, has no idea. I'm like, dude, I don't like Duke. I don't need to get into why I don't, but I just don't like Duke. So if you want a picture, you just got to take off the jersey. So that's kind of fun to watch people like disrobe their Duke paraphernalia and like eliminate that just so they can get a picture, which I don't know. I never do that.
Have you ever had the person who took the low road and was like, man, I'm not taking this off. So it's picture with Duke or nothing.
I feel like we used to do it at my basketball camp. We used to do it like kids would wear stuff. So I think that's actually, in my opinion, that's kind of the high road, right? It's like you're making somebody make a decision. Is it more important to you to rep Duke? Right. Or is it more important to you to get the picture? And if you tell me like, dude, man, I'm a lifelong Dookie, like I love you and I would love a picture, but I'm not going to like take off something of my favorite team to get a picture with you, I would respect that.
You respect that,
yeah. Because I've had kids be like, no, I'm not taking it off. It's like, dude, that's fine. I respect it, but I'm not taking a picture with you in it. And like, you can call me a bad guy. I don't like, it's all in good fun, but that's kind of the way it goes.
The only reason I asked is because my husband also lost to Duke in the national championship. And wherever we go, Duke fans, and this was 2015, so more recent.
So it's relevant. Yeah. Well,
they're the worst.
Yeah, they are the worst. And like, I say this knowing that you know the history. It's like, I don't really give a damn about Wisconsin after what they did to my Arizona Wildcats. 2 different times, stopping us from going to the Final Four. Haven't been to the Final Four since that 01 year, but we have like 4 Elite Eights. So look, I don't have the same like hatred towards Wisconsin as I do Duke. Okay. But I'm glad that me and him can at least, relate on our mutual hatred of Duke.
But that love for your college team, though, I find most athletes, it seems like it gets stronger almost the further removed you are. And you've given so much money to the program. I think you're the highest donor of former athletes in Arizona history, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Why does that matter so much to you?
I think it's just, why does it matter so much? One, because once you get to the other league, you start to see the fraternities even closer, right? So once you make it, and then it's just like, you see like for me, again, I'm older, but you would see the Sean Elliott's, the Steve Kerrs, like coming up to me and it's like, hey man, congratulations, how's it going? And hey, here's this guy, there's such a like, oh wow, these guys are like looking out for me. And like, yeah, they would look out for you when you're in college, but when you're on the same court with them and they would kind of say some things to you, even Steve Kerr, who's a great broadcaster, Sean Elliott, when I got into broadcasting, these are the same guys giving me advice. So you look at like your connection to certain schools can be a lifelong, like, hey, they help recruit me. Then when I got to the league and they were gone, they encouraged me while I was there. Then I get into, the NBA and they're encouraging me. Then I'm playing and they're retired doing basketball, or they're retired, whether it's coaching. You look at Steve Kerr brought in Luke Walton as one of his top assistants, which helped Luke Walton get the Laker job and the Sacramento Kings job. And so you see how there is a unspoken like respect, like, hey, you come from the same thing. We committed, we did all these things. So if I can help you out or encourage you, and I just think that makes your connection to the younger group. I was like, hey guys, I'm here for you. Anything that I can do, anything that I can help you guys with, please like use me, because I'm just paying it forward.
I love that. Well, you mentioned this younger generation, and obviously now they're going to be kids who just see you on their TV, being an analyst, and that's such a different realm. But I think a lot of people still associate you with that 2016 Cavs team. What was the mentality at the age you were at
hold
then?
on. Wait,
he rolled his eyes.
Well,
Speed. No.
He's a Nets fan, so that's why he's telling me.
Let me rephrase this. I did not roll my eyes. I just listen, no, Speedy, hear me out. I just like rolled my eyes from like a moment of like, oh, this was just such a great time. Not like a roll my eyes.
Okay.
Here we go. It's different. When you kind of like have that flashback moment of like, you're rolling your eyes like, oh man, this is
okay.
Right. So
I'm glad you clarified.
Positive.
There's
two teams that I associate with. 3. There's legitimately, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Arizona Wildcats. Those are that's my Mount Rushmore.
Totally fair. And I know Speedy's stopping me just because he's such a Nets fan. So he's
come
like, no,
come on, Speedy. Come on.
I will say I'm a newfound Nets fan, but
okay.
But when I see, so I've covered the NBA finals for a few years now. And when I watched, the 2016 and the 2015 playoffs and finals, it seemed like you were having so much fun because you were kind of in a different place in your career than you were maybe back in, 2001, 2002. Where did that year rank for you when it came to kind of having fun? And is that why you rolled your eyes in that way?
Well, I will say this. Anybody that has like, again, I guess it's been the last couple of years, but have kind of followed what I do from the broadcasting standpoint, I like to have fun. My sense of humor, how I approach things is from a very lighthearted stance. And so for me, like cracking jokes and humor is like it's a crutch. And I mean this in a positive way. It's like, I do these things whenever, like, it's like whenever things get awkward or whenever things like, I'm the person that immediately goes to humor, whether it's in a sad moment, a serious moment, my brain is always looking for humor in things. And so, that 2016, part of me having so much fun was so I didn't think about the seriousness and the weight of what was at hand, because I didn't go to like, so I have the longest gap between NBA finals. So I started in the NBA finals in my second year and in my 15th year. So there was a 13-year gap. So when I get there, I'm like, this might never happen again. I go from all these finals and going to the Olympics and getting a bronze. And it's like, again, because this is my history, I don't expect other people to know this, but we lost to Detroit in 7 games and we were up 3-2. Detroit goes on to win the championship. We lose to Miami and we were tied 2-2. Miami goes on to win the championship. Right. So it was like, I lost to the champion about 7 times over the course of my life's career.
Right.
So I was always on very, very good teams and ran into some teams that were better or were playing better at the moment. But So for me, when it was at that moment in 2016, like, yes, I was there to have fun, but I was also like, hey, the more fun I have, like off the court and away from it, the less I'm going to think about like, this might be my last chance to win a championship, considering the last time was a state championship. So I was locked in.
See, that's what I was going to ask, was the change in mentality from really just an age standpoint of, did the weight sink in of, this is kind of my last shot? But you said you were so lighthearted and having so much fun and approached it with levity.
Yeah. Well, I tried not to think about it. That was my thing. I tried not to think about it because I was a ball of stress that whole time. Like, there's a reason why I retired when I was like in that last game. Cause I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired. I'm cold. I'm exhausted. You play till there's nothing left. And I wasn't in my prime. Obviously I was 35, but I was given everything that I had at that point in time. And it's like, my default is 99% humor. So like when everyone looked like I was having fun, it's really because I was really fucking stressed out. Right? I don't even know if I'm allowed to cast. I was really stressed out. And so all of a sudden I channeled that energy into like, well, let's go have some fun and not think about it.
And it looked like you were having fun, I will say. And I think back to one of my favorite moments from this era of you having fun. And so I'm going to ask you, can you paint a picture of the time where you and Channing Frye dropped a bag on a jukebox to play the thong song like 15 times in a row?
Oh yeah. Okay. So let me first say this. I always like to give credit because I do this often. Like, my favorite thing is to listen to the comedy stations. And so I just hear stuff all the time. So like, yes, I might regurgitate it, but I'm not, stealing jokes is a big thing in comedy. It was from, oh my God, what's his name? Mulaney, he's on SNL. John Mulaney. So John Mulaney, he does this bit where he talks about, he goes into a diner and they put in a bunch of money and they play something from Tom Jones, like "What's Up, Pussycat" or something like that. And so he tells the whole story about how the first couple of times him and his buddy are just in the diner, like eating a sandwich, kind of looking around, seeing if anybody's going to notice it. And then he says by like the fourth or fifth time, like all of a sudden, like they just hear guys like screaming in the back, like, who the hell, going nuts. So I think that's hilarious. So me and Channing, I was like, Channing, like, let's just play the thong song a bunch of times. I don't know why we came up with that song, just something that was random. So we were in Ohio at Ohio State and we put a ton of money on. Now, most of these places have like a default button or they have like a reset button in case someone plays terrible like music. But that song is so like subtle and it's just kind of flowing that it takes it like 3 or 4 times before you realize that this song is on repeat. And then sadly, I think the worst part about it is that like people started doing it and then tagging us in it. And that made it a lot more fun. I feel bad for all the jukebox owners out there, but it's a great bit. But I got to give John Mulaney the credit for that.
Like, how much money are we talking?
Enough until well, again, you don't want to put too much in because they can reset it, right? But
and then you lose your bread.
Then you lose your bread. But is any amount of money too much for that type of quality joke? Like, how much would you
I would say a hard yes.
Yeah, but if you can sit in a place, like, how often can you just go? Like, we see practical joking shows, we see all this stuff. How often can you go into a place with another person and just be like, let's see what's about to happen? So you just put this on and you just get to sit back. People like to people watch, but how often do you get to create the environment that you get to people watch? So it's like all of a sudden you sit back and you're just like looking at the bartender, you're looking at like the chefs in the back, you're looking at like the patrons, you're looking at the mom with the kids and the dad, and you're just like, wonder how long till anyone notices it. And so that to me is like the ultimate joy, where like you're really the only person that understands a joke. So anybody that wants to do a practical television joke show, you could just go to your local bar and just play like the same song.
Do it yourself.
Do it yourself. It only costs you a couple of bucks. And I tell you what, here I am talking to you guys about it. So these stories will last forever.
It paid for itself.
You got paid for itself in spades easily. I'd do it again.
So we've talked so much about your different stops in the NBA and your different triumphs in the NBA, but there's one story I really love from your rookie year. And I know you've told it a ton, but I'd love you to tell our audience this, because This is interesting to everyone across the board. It's Michael Jordan. He's 40 years old. You're a rookie. Y'all had just given him the worst loss of his career, and he did sit the second half. Yes. But you play again when he's in Washington. You play again. And how much did he drop on you? Like 50 or?
So he dropped 40 on us. He dropped 50 on somebody else. So he was the first 40-year-old to go for 40. Luckily, he went for 50 on somebody else shortly thereafter. I don't remember. But you know what? It was weird because we were still in the era of like the Michael Jordan era. Like just understand, all the best players in the league had played against Michael Jordan in the highest level. There wasn't a great player in the league that hadn't been dominated by Michael Jordan at some point in time. So like my rookie year, we lose to the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, but Shaq had lost to MJ in the postseason. So like this was still a MJ dominant league. And so you go back, he also had his Michael Jordan basketball camp in Santa Barbara, where all the young players like myself and Gilbert Arenas and Michael Dunleavy, Jay Williams, all of these guys, Amari Stoudemire, we would go and be counselors at that basketball camp. So when I get to the league, I kind of like grew up watching Michael, but I had worked his basketball camp. I had done different things with him. So like I wasn't like as starry-eyed against him, like as you would say most players, but you still understand that this is MJ. Like you just never got a chance to see it and like feel it for yourself. So the funniest thing for it is that we were playing against MJ, and MJ was one of those guys. He remembers. Like, I know you see this in like the Last Dance, and you see this, but at the end of the day, here's another random example. We go give him the worst loss. Now, I don't want to put Michael Jordan's business out there, but once he started retiring, he was a very social guy. So, you know, he was in New York. Maybe he was out, smoking too many cigars, having too many tequilas, and was just like, oh, we'll be fine. And then he realized like, oh, geez, like these Nets guys run and jump and I'm 40 years old. Like I needed to get my rest. Well, he got his rest and he remembered. And in Michael Jordan fashion, you give him a beat down or something doesn't go his way, he has an ability, probably like not many we've ever seen on this planet before, to show up and set the record straight. And we had a ton of defenders that year. It was me, Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin, Kerry Kittles, and he was giving me buckets. And I remember looking over at these guys, mainly Jay Kidd, like, hey, are we going to switch? Because that's what we do when anyone got hot. We would just give them a different look. And Jay Kidd looked at me like, man, you're doing as good as anybody. Just keep it going. You got it. And I was like, damn, guys. Yeah. So it made it fun.
But do you remember like a look in his eye or things he would be saying? Because he was just a notorious talker.
He wasn't. You know what I remember the most about that game? And I'm going to like not really, I think I'm going to butcher it and all the fact checkers will get me, but I feel like they only scored like 90 something points, right? Because this was back in the day when like, this wasn't, oh, you scored, 50 and your team scored 120, or you scored 45 and your team scored 108. No. This man had 40 and the score was like 88 to 94. So it was like this dude had half of his points.
Almost half of the team's points.
Yeah, half the team's points, right? Which now when you look at the average scoring of 110, 120, 130, I did a game that was 148 to 150 in regulation, right? So you're like, in that moment, but that's what I remember most is that this dude had half of their team's points and was giving it to every single defender that just stopped it. And it was so smooth, so effortless. And it was just one of those days. It was like everyone just kind of tipped their hat. It was like, yo, MJ's just having one of those rare nights.
Yeah, that sounds like one of those rare nights that we've heard of. And we can glance over this lightly because we know we're not supposed to go here, but you speak about a lot of this high scoring that we're seeing these days with the NBA playoffs here right before us. Who do you anticipate to continue doing well? And maybe who do you anticipate to kind of not do so well come playoff time?
Well, it's tough because like we look at so many of the top teams, right? Yeah, pretty much every single team. If I'm looking at, there's no team that doesn't have some injury component that you're worried about, right? So let's talk about the Utah Jazz. You got Donovan Mitchell, who is not back yet, and they're not sure. Like he'll be back, but they're not sure he hasn't played in weeks, so he's not going to be at his best version. The Phoenix Suns, like Chris Paul has had some playoff injuries. You go and look at the Brooklyn Nets. They haven't played many with all of their three. You look at Philadelphia last year, or this year, some Joel Embiid. Last year, Ben Simmons, got hurt in the postseason. So Lakers have, LeBron and AD situation. So you look across the league, and it's hard to pick this year because there's no team that's rolling. There's no team that's this. And a lot of it is because of the schedule and guys are broken down and beaten down. But I think it's the same thing that goes on every single time. It doesn't matter if the scoring's at 140, 150. The teams that play the best defense in the postseason are typically going to be the teams that succeed. Now, where your defense can fluctuate is on how great your offense is. So if you have the best offense, like let's say the Brooklyn Nets, you can be the 12th ranked defense, the 13th ranked defense, and overcome. But if you're the 22nd defense, you have the number one offense, that's just not going to sustain because it's going to be a team that has the 5th best offense, but the 8th best defense. Those things catch up to you. So I don't know. I just feel like of all the teams, health is number one. And we see it with so many teams. I would say Milwaukee's the one team that they don't really have an injury question. Most of their guys are kind of healthy and ready to go. And even them, they haven't had a ton of playoff success. So you can't really point to them and be like, oh, they're going to be it.
Well, this season finished in such exciting fashion because every game mattered. And now the Lakers have found themselves in the play-in. LeBron was worried about it. Now this is where they're at. With a healthy LeBron and AD, are they, because it seems like they shouldn't have ever fallen to 7, but is this the biggest threat in the West to kind of come up and upset first round?
Well, again, you don't know who they're playing. You don't know who they're playing. And again, with the injury thing, that makes it very, very difficult. And I think if anything that you could do to point to the Lakers and where they are viewed and respected, like the Clippers lost their last 3 games just to not be on the same side, just to be on the same side as the Lakers, right? Clippers were like, no, we'd rather get to the 4 or 5 so that we're going to end up in some other spot. So ultimately, I think the Lakers they're going to be right there. You don't know who they're going to play in the first round. And either way, they're going to play a great team. They're if they're going to get the Phoenix Suns or the Utah Jazz, you're still playing the teams that have had the best records in the league. So I know that the Lakers will be good, but it's your reward is playing one of the better teams in the league. And you admittedly on 100% because of health.
Sure.
Now, we've seen how, basketball and culture have kind of overlapped a lot, particularly basketball and hip hop music. But now we're seeing it overlap more than we've maybe ever seen. And with that, you've got a guy like J. Cole, who's decided to play basketball professionally. He's now playing in the Basketball Africa League. I'm just wondering, have you gotten a chance to check out his skills over there, and what you think the ceiling may be for him?
No.
You've not seen him play?
No. Okay, guys. Okay.
You don't like it. You don't like it.
No, I love it for J. Cole. For J. Cole, I love it. It's so tough because I definitely have a reputation for being a bit of a troll. And this is the thing. I posted something on Instagram.
A bit of a troll? Come on, man.
But it's all just in fun, right?
Yeah.
Your best friends, I don't know if females are a little different. Your best friends, all you do is just crack jokes and talk shit to them?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's it. We're just oh, you were trash. Dude, my best friend will order extra large fries. I'm like, dude, you're so fat. What are you doing? Right? Dude, it's a professional athlete. We're just there's a level of friendship that comes, and that's always been my approach. That now to say that I respect everyone chasing their dreams. I respect all of that. I don't mind what J. Cole is doing. I love the journey that he's on. Go and do whatever it is that you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
That being said, no person can ever be successful if every step of the way they are being scrutinized, right? And they are being dissected. It's oh, look, J. Cole's first game, 4 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound in 17 minutes. It's we should not be reporting on this. If you truly want this man to be successful, and I understand who he is, I understand that's the only reason why he got the opportunity. I understand all the things that go into this, but ultimately it's guys, come on. I'd rather them focus on how the women played, right? I'd rather them focus on the WNBA. I'd rather them focus on finding the next high school star and giving her some pub. I know J. Cole is going to get some clicks, but ultimately, what is that really doing for bigging up the game of basketball? Then this is not a knock on J. Cole. The man's got 1 billion fans. He's made $100 million streaming. He's one of the greatest artists of all time, right? No knock. But like, does the basketball community need to be bigging him up, or should we be bigging up the WNBA? Should we be bigging up these people? And you can do both, but understand, we all know, because we're all in media, that we're going to see more things about J. Cole playing basketball and the memes than we will about the defending national champions in Stanford, women's basketball and NCAA. We're going to see more about that. And I'm just like, I don't care if it drives clicks. That's not what we should be talking about.
I think that's really well said.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's very fair. Now, RJ, we all know you.
Now you're going to ask me another question. You're going to ask me another question about J. Cole. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not going to ask.
I love J. Cole.
Yeah.
One of my favorite artists. I can't express that enough. But like, this is not why. It's like Tim Tebow playing tight end. Like, guys. Like, no.
I was going to bring up that comparison because it's there. But hey, at least he was, a former NFL player.
Yeah, and I don't buy the, and I don't buy the whole, oh, you're taking an opportunity away. I don't. If Tim Tebow is the reason why you didn't make the NFL at this point in time in your life, you weren't going to make it anyway, right? Like, you weren't going to make it. If J. Cole is the reason why you didn't make it to the NBA, you weren't going to make it anyway. So I don't buy that narrative of you're taking an opportunity from someone. That's BS. But should that amount of attention be given to somebody because of what they've done in other spaces? I don't know if that's necessary.
No, completely fair. And we can move on from J. Cole. This is just my last thing. Everyone knows you to be very trolly. And so I have a question back to you. We've seen NBA and culture, like I said, kind of become intertwined. There are entire Instagram pages that have become dedicated to like NBA players and tattoos. And I'm just wondering why you think your RJ tat hasn't gotten much love over the course of the years. Particularly on some of these Instagram pages.
Well, because mine is the most famous. Like, it's without a doubt. Like, don't get me wrong. Some other people got some really, notable ink, but like, I don't know if there's one. And it's look good and bad why it's famous.
I've got to Google this. I haven't seen it.
Oh, you've not seen it?
No.
Give it a whirl.
Give it
Fire
a whirl.
it up.
There are people that have gotten my tattoo in a mocking manner. My tattoo is like, my head tattoo is not the best tattoo. It is a trash tattoo. I got it when I was 17, but I will say this, maybe because I'm up close, I know people, and I've actually seen people, right? And this one lab, Tracy McGrady, Carmelo Anthony, they literally have the same tattoo where like they got that same tattoo, like a basketball with their letters, numbers, names coming out. But the difference is they got full sleeves around it. So it looks like it's one.
It disguises it?
Yeah, disguises it where it's like, he's got the basketball with this, and then he's got the hawk, and he's got all, and you're just like, wait a second, go back. I just didn't finish it with a full sleeve because I was just being lazy like I am at times.
So that's why. Gotcha.
That's the thing. Don't let them fool you and make it seem like, oh, Richard has the worst tattoo. No. Lots of them have tattoos like me,
that are bad. Yeah.
That are bad. I just didn't hide it with a full sleeve. That's it.
For sure.
Got it. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
I just had to Google it. And once I did, I realized I very much knew it. It's famous.
Yeah,
so
everyone knows it. Everyone knows it.
You've seen it.
No,
better or worse.
Beautiful.
We all know it.
Oh,
it is
look.
Work of art.
I love, no, it's not. It was, honestly, it was done by a person with like 4 teeth in a back of a
that's
van.
not who you want doing your tattoo.
It looks like it was done in like somebody's basement. Like they bought it off Amazon.
My brother had some jailhouse tattoos. My brother was the first person to teach me how to do a jailhouse tattoo where you could get like a pen and a motor and you could dip it in some pen ink and you're just like, what on earth was I thinking? But I love the story. I don't give a damn. So it makes it fun.
Love it. Well, just to wrap up, because we've talked so much about your history and people you've played against and experiences you've had. And I so appreciate all the on the court stuff, but off the court, I was texting with your coworker, someone I've also had the opportunity to work with, Ian Eagle, fantastic man, fantastic broadcaster. And I asked him, what's something I should ask RJ about? What's something kind of off the court? You know what he told me?
What?
He said the sport you're best at is beach volleyball, and you still play in a league, and that you own a yoga studio. So I don't think a lot of people know this.
What? You own a yoga studio?
Yeah. So again, you don't know. One of the beautiful things about life in general is you don't know where it's going to take you. You don't know how you're going to get places.
Right.
Rewind to the lockout. I go to the lockout and I'm getting out of shape. It's tough. We don't know when it's coming. One of my best friends moves down. We start working out, we start training, and we start doing hot yoga. And I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Next year, I move up to LA, I move up to Santa Monica, and I'm doing a ton of yoga because look, I'm 34 33 at the time. And your body is, I got a lot of miles at that point in time. So I find yoga, I love it. I'm just like, wow, this is, my body never feels better. Everyone needs to stretch, and that's an hour of stretching. And it's a workout, you're gassed, you feel great. So I had a bunch of friends that were coming up, like driving 25 minutes to come do yoga in Santa Monica because there wasn't a yoga studio in Hermosa Beach. It wasn't a really nice one. So me and my buddy that I'd been training with, I'm like, dude, like so many people are coming up here. Why don't we just open up a ton, like a really nice yoga studio there? And so I moved to Hermosa Beach, and we opened up one, and we've won a ton of local awards, and we're a big part of the community. That's probably my favorite thing. Soho Yoga. If you guys want to check it out, it's right on the pier in Hermosa Beach. So and I try and and I try and tell people as much as possible, if you're going to play professional sports, college sports, if you're going to do that and you're not doing yoga, you're shortchanging your career. You're shortchanging what you're capable of doing, because it's like, I'll go lift weights for an hour, then go do yoga. You're like stretching out these muscles. You're strengthening muscles you didn't know you needed and know that you had. And it's part of the reason why I truly believe that, one, I played for 17 years, and two, so many more athletes are getting into it. So many more athletes are open-minded than they were 5-10 years ago. Now it's like yoga is a part of, like Rondo, Joe Johnson, all of these guys will go in on road trips and do yoga. Teams are bringing in yoga teachers. And so I was just fortunate to be a little bit ahead of the curve.
That's really cool. I would even argue, regardless of profession, you're shortchanging yourself if you don't have some kind of yoga or meditation practice. I think it's life-changing.
1,000%. I know I was just speaking to the athletes, but everyone in general. Yeah. Like, if that's not a part of what you're doing, it doesn't matter if you're a CrossFitter, if you're a whatever it is, whatever sport that you're playing, whatever activity, even if you're older and you're like, you just want to do a very like slow, like, it has it for everybody. Like, there is no, I'm not good at stretching. That's why it's like, dude, that's why you go, right?
That's
like, you
the purpose of it.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't go and like lift weights. You don't say like, oh, I can't lift weights because I'm not strong. It's like, well, how the fuck do you think you get strong? Like, it's like, everyone's got to start somewhere. So I try and tell so many young athletes to just get involved in it, because even if you're doing it 22, it'll make your body feel better when you're 30, because these things and these injuries, they stay with you for a lifetime.
I think yoga is especially effective if you're doing it to the thong song on repeat just for hours.
On a jukebox at Ohio State.
All the time at Ohio State. I'd love it. I love it. That might be our next class.
With that, Richard, thank you. Namaste. Thank you for your time.
Namaste, my dog.
Appreciate it.
Hey, man, guys, I appreciate you guys having me so much, man. So you guys have a great day. And if you guys ever need anything, just let me know.
Yes, sir. You too.
Dog.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bro. Peace.